I realized my last name opened doors I didn't even know existed. The night a police officer apologized to me for stopping my car. He looked at my license, went pale, and said, "You're free to go," like I'd scared him. I grew up knowing my family had money, but not the kind you flaunt. No yachts, no reality TV nonsense. Just a massive house set back from the road, dinners where adults spoke in careful half-sentences, and a rule drilled into me early: never argue with authority in public, because authority already knew who we were. I thought it was arrogance. I thought my parents were just paranoid. Then, in my late 20s, I got pulled over for speeding after a bad day at work. I was frustrated and short with the cop. He ran my ID, came back quiet, and told me to slow down, calling me "sir" in a way that felt wrong. When I asked why he let me go, he said, "Your family does a lot for this county." I didn't know what that meant, so I asked my dad later. He didn't yell. He just told me not to push my luck and changed the subject. That was the first time I wondered what kind of favors were being done in my name, and who was keeping score. The question started haunting me after my cousin disappeared from family gatherings. No explanation, no drama, just quietly erased. When I asked about him, my mom said he'd made things difficult and left it at that. I reached out anyway. He met me at a diner 2 towns over and looked over his shoulder the entire time. He told me he tried to expose one of our uncles for bribing zoning officials, thinking it was the right thing to do. He thought being family made him untouchable. Instead, his job vanished, his landlord sold the building, and his bank closed his accounts for irregularities. Everything legal. Everything devastating. He said our family doesn't punish you loudly. They just remove exits until you agree to leave quietly. A week later, my dad called me into his office and asked why I'd been talking to my cousin. He said curiosity was natural, but loyalty was mandatory. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were newspaper clippings about scandals that never quite happened, lawsuits that died before filing, people who'd changed their minds. My name was written on the inside cover, like a reminder of where I belonged. Then he asked me a question that made my chest tighten. He asked if I wanted to inherit responsibility or be managed like a liability. That was the moment everything clicked. I wasn't being protected. I was being groomed. My entire life had been buffered by influence, so I'd never feel consequences deeply enough to rebel. I asked what happened if I refused. He didn't threaten me. He told me I'd be allowed to live freely, without assistance, without interference. He called it independence like it was a punishment. I thought about my cousin, about how free he looked, exhausted and cornered. I told my dad I needed time. That night, I booked a one-way ticket and transferred what money I could without tripping alerts. It wasn't much, but it was enough to disappear quietly. My family hasn't chased me. They don't need to. Doors don't open the same way anymore. Jobs fall through. Apartments reject me without reason. I finally understand the cost of the power I walked away from. People ask if I regret it. I don't. But I'd be lying if I said I don't sometimes miss how easy the world was when it bent without me asking.